Hello, I'm Paul Ramsey. I live here in China and I'm here with my friend. We're going to tell you how to make kombucha. Now we're going to start off with a few slides and you can read along and just listen carefully and I'll give you a short version. Boil your tea and you can use any kind of green tea. I've used three kinds of tea here. I've used a little bit of fermented pu'er tea or just some regular green tea. You let the tea seep for about a minute after it's been boiled. Okay, then you strain it and let it cool all the way down. The boiled tea, after it's seeped for a minute, strain it out and you'll put some sugar in it. It goes about 1 gallon of tea to 1 cup of sugar. And you can see what I've done here. So 1 cup to 1 gallon of tea, which is probably about, 3 liters maybe. Strained out the tea. You can use either the small strainer or the larger strainer that you've seen in some of these slides. Dissolve that 1 cup of warm tea in the sugar. It will help it to go quicker and to melt together. Sometimes I use a little bit of brown sugar and sometimes white sugar. Sometimes you mix it. I can use a little bit of rock sugar. That will also work out well. Now I get a glass jug and I will let the tea cool inside of there. Then I will get my new SCOBY and put that inside of my cool tea and set that aside for a week. Now you need to buy some supplies, so make sure you get a nice bottle. Make sure you get a little bit of meshing or cheesecloth. Then you will make sure all of your utensils are sterilized. I use a plastic spoon because you don't want to touch the kombucha with a metal, something metal. It just sort of neutralizes the fizz, I think. But I sterilize all of my jars, use my glass ladle, my metal ladle to pour onto my glass jars. If I set the jars in the boiling water, sometimes they'll pop. So I hold them and pour in the hot water. It will boil it, and then I get the top and I dip that in the boiling water at the end. Now you have the SCOBY from the old batch, right? And that's your symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And don't use any metal on that when you're dipping your kombucha. Now I reach in and get my pet SCOBY. I have clean hands. I've washed them in soap and water. And I pull out the SCOBY, put it in a sterilized bowl, and let it set there. Then I'll put in a little bit more kombucha. After I take out, you can see here, I have 2 SCOBYs now. You can peel off maybe 1 or 2. Each week I'll get a new one. And I'll either keep the old one in and brew it again, or I'll save it and give it to a friend. You can keep it in the fridge probably for a couple months. And that will make a good backup in case something happens to your kombucha. It might get moldy, so you have to throw the whole thing away and start again. All right, I get my ladle, I get my funnel, everything's sterilized, and I start putting it in my bottles. Now, as I do that, you can put in your syrup first. I use some rose syrup here. Not syrup, I mean a fruit syrup. So you can put in a jam. You can put in a jelly. It's all sweet, but all of that sugar is dissolved and eaten by the culture, by your SCOBY there, and it will make it a little fermented. So this I will let set for 2 days after I put in my grape juice and rose syrup. Maybe I'll put in a little extra sugar, a tablespoon for about 1 liter, and that will help it to add some fizz to it. And you can see a good tablespoon, maybe a little less. If you put in more, it may take longer to ferment and maybe a little more alcoholic. But there's not very much, I think 0.5% alcohol. It's very, very low. But the sugar's all gone, so it's good for you diabetics. Now the fruit juice, got that in there, and I'll usually fill the kombucha up to, well, say about here, maybe 2 inches from the top, 5 centimeters. I go a little bit lower because when I do it, my kombucha will fizz quite a bit and it won't explode. So I let it wait for 2 days. Now, after day 1, I will burp the top of the kombucha and it will go if there's a lot of fizz in there. And close it up real quick if it's gonna, explode or come out. So let out a little bit of air. That just, I don't know, I think it's safer. Anyhow, it's covered up out of the sunshine and out of the heat, and also in a plastic container, plastic box there. Now I brew that for 2 days, and after those 2 days, after the middle day of being burped, you'll get a good carbonation. Look at that, see all that fizz on top? This was a very good batch that I had. You can see all of the fizz, and the strawberry turned out wonderfully. Mulberry, a little bit darker there, and my mango. So those are all very good flavors. And that's it. You get your balanced alkalinity. It's good for gut trouble. It's safe to drink for all times of the day. I usually drink about maybe a cup at night, and it just it's very relaxing. Add in some ice, put in a lemon, and it's a good drink. Have a good time. Thanks for watching.